But what I'm going to talk about today is what I call Hey-Days. And Hey-Days is a form of rhythm harmonica. And rhythm harmonica would be like rhythm guitar or rhythm piano or organ. You're basically, you're not the drummer playing rhythm because you've got chords and you've got tonality. Excuse me, but you have you're 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 playing a rhythm with notes. So drummers don't do that so much. And bass players are typically outlining the chord progression of the song, so they're not really doing that either. So what there's a couple different ways to play rhythm harmonica, maybe more if you define some things as rhythm and some things as not rhythm, but essentially I like this one. It's really good for certain kinds of things. I'll talk more about this later, but it's really good for solo harmonica. That is you just playing in front of people and there's no band and there's no music to play to. You're just playing all by yourself on the harmonica. So it's not a melody, it's not melodic. You can make it more melodic as you go along. Um, but it's not meant to be a melody, it's meant to be a groove, right? So this rhythm creates a groove. So what I've got is Hah-Dah. I'll explain why I call it Hah-Dah in just a couple of minutes. When I started teaching a long, long time ago, there was no internet. It was a couple of decades before the internet really popped up. And we didn't have this community of people saying, okay, we're going to call this thing this and this thing that. And there weren't names for things. So since I was a teacher, I just gave names to things, and I still kind of stick with most most of the naming convention that I started with because, frankly, it's just easier for me. Anyway, this is the Hah-Dah. Let me show you, let me just give you a little demo of it. Now, I slowed it down a little bit at the end there just because I needed to get out of it and stop. But some people, some people, including yourself, you once you learn the Hah-Dah, you can do you can use the Hah-Dah for a kind of train too, because it's got that kind of there's a zillion different ways to do a train. One of my all-time favorites is if it's still available, and I'm guessing it is someplace. There was a record label in the 70s and 80s, and I think it was called Yazoo, kind of like Yahoo, but Yazoo Records. And it was great harmonica performances of the 20s and 30s. It may not be it word for word, it's pretty darn close. And the very first track, this was back when I had the album, back with in those kinds of days. And the first track was called Railroad Blues. And it's very, very, very cool. Now, what does this have to do with Hah-Dah? Absolutely nothing, but it's another way of doing a train, and to me it's one of the most brilliant things ever done on harmonica. So it's called Railroad Blues. uh, it's been a long time. Freeman Stowers, I think. Freeman Stowers is, I think, the name behind that. So check that out if you can. Find it somewhere. It's probably here on YouTube. So give it a search. Anyway, so back to the Hah-Dah. Um, I call it Hah-Dah because that's really what I'm saying to do that. And the Hah-Dah, now I'll show you a screenshot of the tab for it, and there isn't much to it, but I'll show you a screenshot in just a second for how you play the Hah-Dah. But it's essentially the Hah-Dah is what music we would call a drone. And a drone is like the same note over and over and over and over and over again. And then sometimes you layer stuff on top of it. And that's kind of what I'm doing with the Hah-Dah. And, bagpipes, vroom, 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 but in the background still going vroom, vroom, vroom. That's the droning part of it. So what I'm doing is I'm playing this in second position, sometimes sometimes called cross harp, but I'm on my key of C diatonic, and it's second position, so I'm actually in the key of G when I do Hey-Deys. It is a second position little trick here. So what I have is I'm using the 2 draw, which happens to be a G note, and I'm also using the 3 blow, which is also a G. And this is we've got that 2 draw there on diatonics, which ends up being the 5th note of the scale, C, D, E, F, G. And it's what allows you to play in second position, but I don't want to get too deep into that now. But 2 draw and 3 blow are always the same note. So if you're just starting and you've played through the harmonica and you go, well, wait a minute, something's not right, because 2 draw and 3 blow are the same note. Or you've heard they're the same note, and then you try to go 3 blow, 2 draw, and you go, well, that's not the same. Well, that's because you're not playing 2 draw properly. And that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother thing. But most beginners can't get a clean sound out of 2 draw and play it in tune. But again, another story for another time. But assuming you can, Hah-Dah is more of an intermediate or advanced level technique, and that's just doing it with the single notes on 2 draw and 3 blow. And literally what I'm doing is 2 draw twice and 3 blow twice, and then repeat. So it's Hah-Dah on the draw and Hey-Day on the blow. So it's, now that gets a little tricky. Let me pull up, let me do a screen share here, and let me do this, and there we go. Okay, this is the basic path. This is on my website. I've got 1 or 2 or 3, full-length videos on Hah-Dah, and we call it, kind of a chugging or a rhythm thing. I don't know what we call it, but it's basically a way of playing a certain kind of rhythm on the harmonica. So what I've got here is, you can see there, Hah-Dah, Hey-Day, Hah-Dah, Hey-Day. Now the ha and the hey is the breathing part. So I breathe on 2 draw, I inhale, and because I'm opening my mouth, dropping my jaw, I've mentioned this numerous times in different classes, it's a ha, 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 ha on the 2 draw. And then the last class I did right before this one, is I was talking about, or maybe it was the one before that, but yesterday I did a class on tongue blocking versus tonguing. And tonguing is done more with the vertical slot method, which is the advanced version of whistle method or pucker method lipping. It's a lot of different names for the same thing, but it's, so what I do on starting on 2 is I breathe in first, I inhale in, got my mouth open, my jaw, I've got that vertical slot thing happening. And then I do a bunch of dahs. So I've got, and I'm going to, if you're just learning this and this is, within your ability, and if you're just starting, you're not going to have any luck with this. So work on some other things, work on single notes and bending and breathing, maybe holding the harmonica properly, and come back to this again at kind of an intermediate level. But watch what I do. I'm going to draw on two draw. And now, then what I'm doing is I inhale first without using my tongue, and then I use my tongue to go da, 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 da. So I'm going ah, da, 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 da. Sounds weird because I am inhaling. So it's, and I want you to do, I know there's only one da there, and I'm doing many das, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. Now, when I go to the three blow, which again is the same note, two draws a G, three blows a G. If you go to, let's say, an A harmonica, two draw would be E, and three blow would be the same note, E. So it works the same way on all diatonics. It doesn't work that great on chromatic harmonica if you happen to be a chromatic player. So anyway, so I've got, now I go to the blow, the three blow, and when I exhale, I've got my jaw down, my mouth open, I've got the vertical slot going, hey, hey. So the first thing I do on the whole three is I blow in a kind of a hey way, and then I use my tongue. It's making kind of a D formation and going day, 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 day. So it's hey, first blow, hey, day, 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 day. So now I'm going to do some two draw, ha-da, da, da, da. Then I'm going to do some hey, day, 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 day. And here's what I've got. To the blow, the draw, the blow. Now, if you've never done this kind of thing before, you want to do that probably for a good day or two or three. Make sure the first note of the Hah-Dah and the Hey-Day on the draw and the blow, make sure that is breathing and not tonguing. You don't want to go, you don't want to tongue both. If I go da da day day, it's too choppy. So I breathe and then tongue. And then blow, three blow. Now, if you want to work on this, you can always come back to this video, and you can also do a screenshot here of this tab, or if you are a member, my website, harmonicalesson.com, or you become one, if you go to the jamming and improv section and you go to rhythm, harmonica, and chugging, you will find the Hah-Dah Hey-Deys. Okay, so I am going to I'm going to go back to the big picture of me because I love seeing big pictures of me. Because now that we've gone over what those notes are, there we go. Okay, I'm back here. It's Big Dave now. Yay. So what we've got is the Hah-Dah Hey-Day, and you start with Hah-Dah da da da, Hey-Day day day. Easy for me to say. Right? You've got that. Then, once you've got that down and you're sure that on the ha you're breathing and not tonguing, and on the da you're tonguing and not breathing, so it's ha-da, ha-da, ha-da. And then on the hays, you're doing a exhale, blow, hey, and then tonguing that one too. So it's breathe, tongue, breathe, tongue. And start off for probably the first week, start off very, very, very slowly. You want to make sure you don't end up sucking twice, blowing twice. See, that's breathing in twice and exhaling twice. And why don't you want that? It's too slow. I mean, it's literally just too slow. So the fastest way to repeat these notes is to breathe, and that gives you a nice kind of open full attack on the note, the two or the three, and then you add the tonguing, which gives you the separation of the notes. So again, slowly. Okay, so that's what the Hah-Dah Hey-Day is. And you may have noticed early on in this class when I demoed that, I started with chords. And you can do this with the single notes. Or you can do it with chords. And you basically play a chord exactly the same way you play a single note, except you just put the harmonica further into your mouth, which in essence widens your mouth. So instead of, it's, and that gives you more of that kind of train sound too if you're going after that. So as I mentioned earlier, there's many different ways to harmonica players have done trains over the years, over the many, many decades. This since trains have existed and harmonicas have existed. But this is a good way of doing it too, and it's easy to speed up and slow down for that. Now, this is an introduction to Hah-Dah Hey-Deys. I may do another class here on YouTube at some point in the future with expanding on what we just did there. And I'll give you one more demo before I go. But the thing behind me is a screenshot of the homepage of harmonicalessons.com. If you're a member there, become a member. Just go to the jamming and improv section, go to rhythm harmonica and look for Hah-Dah Hey-Deys. And I did at least 2 classes, maybe 3 classes with some different kinds of variations. Like, okay, I get that basic thing, but that gets a little old after a while. So there's lots and lots and lots and lots of ways to make it more interesting and to really use it as a platform to jam on top of. So anyway, I just wanted to get you started with that. And like I say, if you're a member or you become one, go ahead and take a look on the website in the members area. And you know, by popular demand, I might come back somewhere down the road. I've got a bunch of other topics for classes I'm going to do first, but I just wanted to at least introduce that. So watch what I'm going to do here. This is probably the first drill you should do if you want to get into this, and that is you do Hah-Dah, Hah-Dah Hey-Day, Hah-Dah Hey-Day, Hah-Dah Hey-Day, Hah-Dah Hey-Day, Hah-Dah Hey-Day. Each Hah-Dah Hey-Day ultimately is a foot tap, i.e. there's 4 notes and 1 foot tap, therefore there's 16th notes. But in the beginning, you might do the Hah-Dah and the Hey-Day each as a versus. So notice I was doing it slower with the tap, and those are 8th notes, and then you can speed it up and do it with 16th notes when you get better and you get faster at it. And make sure you're doing it correctly, because we live in a world of muscle memory, and whatever you do with your body and sometimes with your mind, our bodies and our minds get used to doing that, and it becomes what we like to refer to as a habit, and they call that muscle memory. So when you do something over and over and over again, you will learn it, and it becomes a learned physical muscle memory motion. And so ideally, the first time you're working on new things, You want to get it right from the first time if possible. If not, do the best you can, move on. Then you come back later down the road after a few weeks or a couple months or a year, and then you clean things up and you make it better. So I'm going to do these as 16th notes, i.e., Hah-Dah, Hey-Day for one foot tap. And I'm going to do 4 in a row. Hah-Dah, Hey-Dah, Hah-Dah, Hey-Dah, Hah-Dah, Hey-Dah, Hah-Dah, Hey-Dah. And when I do that, that gives me, if you're playing standard time, which is 4 beats per measure, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one of those groups of 4 is a measure or a bar. Those terms are synonymous and used interchangeably. So 2 measures is exactly the same as 2 bars. So don't be fooled by that. So what I'm going to do is show you a good drill. If you can get those clean single notes down at the low end of the harmonica on hole 2, draw, and you can get this, it's breathe, tongue, breathe, tongue. You get that motion down, give yourself at least a few days or a week or longer to get the muscle memory down so you have it correct. It's really easy to not do it right. Can't tell you how many times over the last 4 decades I've taught this to people, and then they come back the next week and go, yeah, I've been working on it, see? And I go, no, that's not quite it. So now I'm very careful to warn people up front. It's breathe, tongue, breathe, tongue. Okay, so watch. I'm going to do a bar. I'm going to do a bar of 4 Hah-Dah, Hey-Dahs. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I'm doing those with the single notes. Now, all you have to do to get the chords is to put the harmonica a bit further into your mouth. And that's the way to do it. You don't want to necessarily widen your lips. Ideally, you put it further in your mouth because we always want the harmonica as far into our mouth as we can get it because it facilitates correct breathing. Correct breathing means you're not sucking and blowing at the front of your mouth. For harmonica players, that's what that means. So here it is with chords. So I just get it further in my mouth. And I got Hah-Dah on the draw, on the blow. So it's kind of easier because you don't have to worry about the single notes. It's like, oh, thanks, I got a break. All right, that's nice. So if I do a bar of Hah-Dah, Hey-Days with chords, it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. Now, notice what I did was I did a bar of the Hah-Dah, Hey-Days, excuse me, and then I did a bar of rest. And this is kind of the next level of getting Hah-Dah, Hey-Days down for a jamming thing because you say, well, is there a lot more beyond this basic? Yes, lots and lots and lots. And I could easily go 6 months to a year with teaching people to do things on the side and then incorporating them into Hah-Dah, Hey-Days. Oh, by the way, Hah-Dah, Hey-Days are based on straight notes, straight eighth notes and not shuffled eighth notes. There is a difference. I'm not going to get into detail on that now. I'll probably do that in another one of these classes at some point. Or again, go to the members area at harmonicalessons.com, and I do go to music theory and look it up. It's in there. I do talk about that in numerous places. Straight eighth note versus shuffled eighth note. So let me show you now what it sounds like if I do a bar, 4 Hah-Dah, Hey-Days of single notes, and then I do a bar of 4 Hah-Dah, Hey-Days of chords. Okay, I'll just do it a few times and I'm going to wrap this up here. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if what I did there was I did four sets of Hah-Dah single notes and four sets with chords, and so that again a bar of the single note Hah-Dah and then a bar of the chord. So if you find you're it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing three or four or five, or I'm getting confused, then don't take this thing here. Whoops, that's funny. I put that there. Look, it disappeared. It's magic. Room. Yes, okay. There you go. Anyway, so you put it down and go back to that section of what I just did and just count one, two, three, four, one, two, three, four, one. Just count the bars. And remember, there's four Hah-Dah for each bar.